Hey y'all, we're going to talk about 1984, one hit wonders. Well, I've been working on my list for 1984, and I don't know if it's going to happen with every year, but 1984 just seems to be explosive with great music. So I'm going to kind of have to break it up into several different videos. I don't want them to be too long. I don't want you to get bored. But one thing I noticed making my list is there seem to be a lot of one-hit wonders in 1984. And like I said, I don't know if that's going to happen in other years. This is the first year that I've really went deep dive onto these videos. So let's just cover the one-hit wonders first and then see where we land. Tracy Ullman had a song called They Don't Know. I remember seeing that on MTV back in those days, and I thought it was Paul McCartney does a cameo in the video, and I was wondering, who is this chick? She's kind of came out of nowhere. Eventually had her own TV show, and that's where The Simpsons came from. It was from the Tracy Ullman Show, but she had a song first. Actually, I think she was on TV in England first, and they gave her a recording contract. They thought she would make a comedy album, but ended up doing mostly music and had a minor hit out of the deal. I think it's actually on the top 100 list, so I'll mention it again. Yeah, speaking of TV stars crossing over into music, there was a guy on a sitcom, I can't remember which one it was, I think it was General Hospital, kind of a heartthrob guy named Jack Wagner that had a song that was really cool called All I Need Zabba Dabba Da Boo. I don't do lyrics very well, but great song. Real Life had a song called Send Me an Angel, which was just covered this year by Gunship. Great 80s song. Talk Talk's It's My Life came out in 1984. I think they had several other hits in England and around the world, but in the US they only had the one, It's My Life. In 2004 was covered by Gwen Stefani. I don't think a lot of people know that that's a cover even. You had the Romantics with Talking in Your Sleep. That was a pretty big song. I'm sure that's on the top 100 list. They had a song a few years before that called What I Like About You. My definition of one hit wonder is kind of nebulous. Some people have two hits, but if one was greatly bigger than the other one, then to me I consider it a one hit wonder. Some bands can have 15 albums and I'll consider it a one hit wonder if they had just the one song. In those views, people like Jimi Hendrix and Grateful Dead and people like that are technically one-hit wonders in my world. You can argue with me in the comments if you don't agree, but On the Dark Side, who sings it? It's from the Eddie and the Cruisers movie, which I loved that movie when I was younger. 1984 just doesn't seem right to me. That's just seems really late for that movie to come out. I don't know. I get some of the timelines a little confused, but great song. There was a lot of good songs in that movie. It's more that old style rock and roll stuff that is not really my cup of tea, but I love that movie so much that yeah, On the Dark Side. originally sung by John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. What a name, huh? They kind of, they never could get signed because they pretty much sound like Bruce Springsteen. But had a big hit with this movie soundtrack. And then it kind of cursed them too because everybody thinks of Michael Pere and Eddie and the Cruisers, and they don't, those guys couldn't get arrested walking down the street, but it had a huge hit in 1984 with that song. Next up, Peter Schilling. Probably don't know that name either, but he had a song called Major Tom, which kind of takes the David Bowie Space Oddity thing and flips the roles. He kind of tells the story from the other point of view, from people observing Major Tom in space. I loved that song growing up. I still think it's a great song. I listened to it in research, and it totally holds up. Yeah, Band Aid did the Do They Know It's Christmas song. I guess people have tried to make that seem a little problematic here in recent times, but it's one of my top 10 favorite Christmas songs. I was surprised that was not in the top 100, but you also have to realize that they recorded that and released it quickly at the end of 1984, so it didn't really, they wanted to get it out before Christmas. And great song. Styx were riding high off of Mr. Roboto and what was that album called? Kilroy Was Here. The main guys ended up doing solo albums in 1984, and they both fell under the radar. It took deeper and deeper research for me to even find them on any lists. It's crazy how that works out. There's some of these lists that I've worked on multiple times, and depending on which source I use, I've researched these lists multiple times to get the songs and movies and all the information. And it's weird how many things just fall through the cracks. And just my last go through, these popped up. Styx main guys had solo stuff that year. Tommy Shaw's Girls with Guns made it to the top 50, and Dynasty Young's Desert Moon made it to number 10, and they didn't show up on any of my sources until just this last time through. But neither one of them had hits under their own name any other time. Tommy Shaw had tons of hits. He's a threefer. He had his own hit, Styx, Damn Yankees. He had hits with, I think, him and Jack Blades. Those songs are usually were as songwriters, so like other people were credited with the song. But if you look up the list of songs he's written, Tommy Shaw is way up there. But on the same token, Journey had taken a break after their biggest couple of albums, and Steve Perry had a big hit with Oh Sherry, which I thought that song was kind of cheesy back in the day. It kind of stands up now. It doesn't sound too bad now, but there was a couple of British bands that had huge careers in England, but couldn't get the time of day in America. Style Council had one song that crossed over to the U.S. Billboard, Ever-Changing Mood. My Ever-Changing Mood is what it was called. And it's not my style of music. Shakin' Stevens was a humongous star in England. In U.S., he just couldn't get time of day. And there was another song called The Politics of Dancing. I didn't even care enough to write down who it was by, but it was another one of those bands that was several hits in England, but that's the only one they had in the US. Now on to some of the hard rock stuff. 1984 was a pivotal year for heavy metal. If you were into the pop charts, you would call it heavy metal. If you're from 2024, most people would call it hair bands. We called it glam metal or pop metal. But Come On Feel the Noise was Quiet Riot's cover of the Slade song. It was the first heavy metal album to go to #1, and that's only because Michael Jackson kept Def Leppard's Pyromania from going #1. So Come On Feel the Noise was a big hit. Twisted Sister is another one that you could consider that they had more than one hit, but we're not going to take it. That's the one. Another one that you would consider a two-hit wonder would be Scandal with Patti Smythe. Their big one in 1984 would obviously be The Warrior. That's the one I consider one-hit wonder status. But they had another song a couple of years before, called Goodbye to You that I remember seeing on MTV all the time. I love that song. It reminds me of like an 80s version of Paramore, sort of. And I like that song way better than The Warrior. By Warrior, it kind of just became Patti Smythe. She still used the Scandal name because they had a brand, but it kind of pretty much just became her. That song stands up for me. I didn't really love it back in the day, but Warrior's cool. I like it. Prince's reign was strong, and he has Sheila E.'s Glamorous Life that year. I'm sure he produced. I didn't look into it too much, but I assume he produced it. Probably wrote and played most of it. Great song. And there was some silly songs. You had the Curly Shuffle, which is just dumb. Sampling Curly from the Three Stooges, and obviously novelty song, one-hit wonder. And another one I found on my research, this last time through, that didn't pop up on any other source, was Julie Brown, The Homecoming Queen's Got a Gun. It's a stupid song. Not Downtown Julie Brown that was on MTV, but White Julie Brown. And she was on MTV a lot too, but it's kind of confusing. Julie Brown, Homecoming Queen's Got a Gun. Look it up. It was actually the B-side of whatever single she had at the time, and everybody ended up just flipping the record over and thought this song was kind of funny. Matthew Wilder, Break My Stride. Silly song. I never liked it back then. I'm not a huge fan of it now. But he is a big producer of, he's behind the scenes on a lot of the newer pop stuff that's out nowadays. Matthew Wilder, ain't nothing gonna break my stride, ain't nothing gonna hold me down. Oh no, I got to keep on moving. So dumb that song is etched in my brain. I hate it, but I love it, and I hate it. Another last silly one. Last silly one is the Weather Girls. It's Raining Men. It jumped around a bunch because I think it actually came out in 1983, but it charted a whole bunch in 1984. I think it was in a movie at some point. It wasn't promoted as like the song of a movie, but it was just in a movie, I think. Uh, don't love it. It was like the last gasp of disco type of stuff. On to what I would consider quintessential 80s one-hit wonders. Whenever you see a CD of 80s one-hit wonders, these are the songs that would be on there. Corey Hart, Sunglasses at Night, great song, which ironically mashes up with I Ran by Flock of Seagulls just perfectly. Rockwell, Somebody's Watching Me, that was a huge song that year. Everybody thought it was weird. Why is this guy? Who is this guy? It's got Michael Jackson on his song. Turns out he was a Nepo baby. He was the son of Berry Gordy that owned Motown. Got one song out of the deal. Whatever. Ghostbusters, one hit wonder for Ray Parker Jr. One of the biggest songs of the year. I don't know if it's the biggest song of the year. One of the biggest movies of the year. We'll get into that in the movie list. Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Relax. Frankie Goes to Hollywood was a humongous band in England. But only had the one song here. They had a second song called Two Tribes, but didn't get near as big as Relax. I think Relax would have gotten a lot bigger if the religious right hadn't cracked down on the masturbation angle of it and had it kind of squashed. So that's why it wasn't bigger here, but that's their only hit in America. Dan Hartman had a song for the Streets of Fire soundtrack. Streets of Fire is an amazing movie that most people haven't ever seen. It was kind of a dud back in the day. The biggest thing out of it was I Can Dream About You by Dan Hartman. Love that song. I should have mentioned it in the hard rock section, but Round and Round by Rat was a huge hit that year. And I don't think they ever really got much bigger than Round and Round. They tried. Rat was one of the quintessential glam bands at that time and through the rest of the 80s. But they just never could grasp that brass ring as big as bands like Bon Jovi or Motley Crue or any of the other ones. But Round and Round is a great song. One of my favorites, Nina with 99 Red Balloons. Great song. That song actually charted higher in America with the German version than the American version. When it became such a big hit, they tried to rush out the English version, and people liked the German version better. Go figure. Another one of my favorites, John Waite, Missing You. Great song. I love that song. I'll be putting up a cover of that song soon because I just love that song so much. And he's another one that basically is a one-hit wonder 3 times over. He had a few with the Babies, but there's really only one that stands out. He had one with Bad English, and then he had his solo song. So he's a 3-timer, one-hit wonder. Strange. And my favorite one-hit wonder of 1984, the Thompson Twins, Hold Me Now. Once again, that song just epitomizes 80s for me. I love that song. That's one of my go-to playing songs. I'll have a cover of that one up pretty soon too on my other channel. They also were kind of a 2-hit wonder because right after this they had a song called Doctor Doctor. It got pretty big in England, but in America it's kind of floundered compared to Hold Me Now. So one-hit wonder it is. Anyway, that's the one-hit wonders of 1984. I'll be coming back with the Billboard year-end albums of the year and probably my favorite songs of the year. There's several different 1984 lists that I'm working off of. So much good music. Anyway, see you next time.